Welcome in, everyone, live from the World AI Forum. You can really feel the energy here, can't you?
It's electric.
It really got us thinking about innovators and disruptors, you know.
Oh, absolutely.
And who better embodies that than Mark Zuckerberg?
From Harvard dorm to, well, leading one of the most impactful companies in the world.
It's quite the story. Let's rewind to the beginning, back in the Harvard days. Before Facebook even, there was FaceMash.
Oh, yeah, that Hot or Not website.
Got him in some hot water, didn't
That he
it?
definitely did.
But you can see that spark, right? That drive to connect people through tech.
For sure. And who knew that controversial project would lead him to meeting his wife, Priscilla Chan?
At his going-away party, no less.
Talk about turning a setback into an opportunity.
It's a movie waiting to happen.
Totally is.
And soon after, boom, Facebook is born.
Starting as just a way to, what was it, easily access classmates' info? A digital Facebook, basically.
Simple idea, massive impact, right? And Zuckerberg's vision just explodes from there. College students, high schoolers, and by 2006,
Driven to the whole world.
things really took off then. But what's so smart is how he got developers involved, making apps on Facebook.
So it wasn't just social networking anymore.
It became the place to be online. Suddenly you could play games, share news, build whole communities, all on one platform.
Remember everyone talking about grandparents playing Scrabble with their grandkids on Facebook?
Changed how we connect as a society, truly.
Now, one thing that always struck me about Zuckerberg,
Yeah.
he was so insistent on real identity, which was bold back then, when anonymity online was the norm.
Absolutely. He wanted Facebook built on genuine connections. Trust and transparency, those were key.
From day one, using university emails for verification. Clever, right? Built trust. Set Facebook apart.
But that focus on real names, it's had its critics too.
It has. Some argue it stifles free speech, especially for people who might face consequences for dissenting views.
It's a tough one. Transparency versus feeling safe to speak your mind.
Yeah. And you know, it's something we're still dealing with today, this whole issue of online identity, privacy.
Absolutely. And speaking of shaking things up, we got to talk about Zuckerberg and open source. Facebook's early growth was heavily reliant on it.
Totally. Think LMP stack.
Right, LMP stack, the backbone of so many websites back then. Linux, Apache, MySQL, PHP.
And then later, Meta, using open compute designs for their data centers, lowered costs, influenced the whole industry.
Exactly. He embraces open collaboration, but uses it strategically too.
And now we're seeing that same thing play out with AI, especially with Meta releasing the Llama language model.
So Zuckerberg is advocating for open sourcing AI, but being cautious too, talking about the need for red teaming.
Oh, yeah. For anyone who isn't familiar with red teaming, it's basically where expert teams try to, break or exploit a system.
Before it goes public.
Right, so you can find those vulnerabilities. Crucial for AI safety.
Makes sense. He's walking a tightrope with this open source AI thing, huh?
He is. Believes in open collaboration for faster innovation, but also, what if those powerful models fall into the wrong hands?
Big question. So where's all of this leading? What's the end game?
That's where Zuckerberg's grand vision comes in. The metaverse.
He thinks it'll be the next big computing platform, even bigger than smartphones.
Think AR glasses, holographic displays, blending digital and physical seamlessly. It's like sci-fi stuff.
Straight out of sci-fi, you're right. But they're actually working on the tech.
Oh, yeah, they are. Miniaturizing it all into something stylish and comfortable, that's the challenge.
It is.
Remember those Ray-Ban stories?
Sure.
Consider that a stepping stone, right? Towards those AR glasses where digital info is just part of your everyday life.
Bringing the vision to life bit by bit. And AI is clearly a huge part of this future he sees.
For sure. He talks about AI revolutionizing, well, pretty much everything.
Yeah.
Healthcare, social connections, creativity, you name it.
It's a big vision. And he's given some incredible examples, like that AI that can diagnose skin cancer as accurately as a, expert dermatologist.
Potentially saving lives.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But it's not just about making useful products, is it?
No, it's not. He wants to make products that are awesome. Things that inspire, elevate us, tap into our emotions.
That's a big shift from utility to awesomeness.
It is. It's about going beyond just the functional stuff and creating experiences that are, well, I don't know, almost spiritual in a way.
So let's do a little thought experiment. If you were Mark Zuckerberg, shaping the future of AI and tech, what would be your top priorities?
Wow, that's a good one.
What would you do to build a better world with these incredible tools?
Well, I think, first of all, you got to keep that curiosity alive, like Zuckerberg talks about. Embrace change, build things that inspire others.
Definitely. To truly get his vision, we got to look at how Meta works, too. It's more than just a company, right?
It really is an extension of Zuckerberg's own values and beliefs. Like, it's fascinating how some companies become almost inseparable from their founders.
Like Steve Jobs and Apple.
Exactly. Or Bill Gates and Microsoft. Meta's structured to play to Zuckerberg's strengths.
Both in how they make products and his philosophy.
So he can actually execute on his big ideas.
He's built a company that reflects who he is, a company designed to make his vision a reality.
And that vision, it's taking us into uncharted territory.
Zuckerberg thinks we're at this crucial point in tech history where the future of the internet is up for grabs.
Open platforms versus closed ones, the balance is shifting.
Big question is, what role do we play in shaping all this?
Right. Will we sit back and watch, or are we going to grab this opportunity to build something amazing?
That's what makes this deep dive so exciting. It's not just about learning. It's about, I don't know, inspiring action.
Yeah.
Understanding how one person's vision can reshape the world and how we can each contribute to building a future that aligns with our own values. But hold on, before we get too far ahead of ourselves,
Right.
we need to understand where Zuckerberg is coming from, those experiences that shaped his worldview and how he leads.
So it's time to get personal. Uncover the man behind the metaverse.
Let's do it. See what we can learn about what drives him, what makes him tick.
This is where it gets really interesting.
Beyond the headlines, into the heart of what makes Mark Zuckerberg.
It's interesting, Zuckerberg's background. You'd think tech, CEO, computer science degree, right?
Yeah, seems like the obvious path.
But he actually majored in psychology.
That's right. Fascinated by how people think, how we interact. But
Exactly.
you can see that in how he built Facebook. It was never just about the tech.
No, it was about tapping into that human need to connect, understanding behavior.
Totally. And even before Facebook, he was into classics, Latin, Greek.
Not what you'd expect from a future tech giant.
Right. But it speaks to that curiosity, exploring different fields.
For sure. Maybe those interests, even though they seem so different, they kind of came together to shape his vision for Facebook.
It's an interesting thought. That grounding in classics, storytelling, human connection.
Yeah.
Maybe it influenced how he approached building a social platform.
I could see that. And it's crazy to think, in those early days, Facebook becoming this global thing, it wasn't a sure thing.
No, not at all.
Zuckerberg himself thought, someone else would do it, a Microsoft, a Google, someone bigger.
Wow, so he saw it as more of a local project, just connecting people at Harvard.
Yeah, it's wild, right? It shows you sometimes the biggest ideas start small.
Just solving a problem for the people right in front of you.
Exactly. A lesson for any entrepreneur out there. Don't be afraid to start small. Build something meaningful for your community.
Love that. But don't get it twisted. Those early days, they were tough.
Oh, yeah.
Zuckerberg was all in on Facebook, skipping classes, eventually dropping out of Harvard.
Takes guts, that level of conviction.
You got to believe in your vision.
Absolutely. And even then, super resourceful. Renting cheap servers, running ads just to keep the site alive.
Talk about bootstrapping. Doing more with less, staying focused on the mission.
That frugality, that efficiency, it became part of Facebook's culture.
Even as they got bigger, they kept that lean, engineering-driven approach.
Definitely. But not every decision was a home run, of course.
Sure.
Let's talk about the IPO. Big moment for any company.
Huge. Especially one as high-profile as Facebook.
It was, well, a roller coaster.
Massive valuation. Then the stock price tanks.
A lot of people doubting whether Facebook could, make that shift to mobile.
Yeah, the mobile world was exploding then.
Their strategy at the time was all about HTML5, which, in hindsight, wasn't the best choice.
They had to adapt, and fast.
And it wasn't always pretty.
It's a good reminder.
Yeah.
Even the most successful companies can stumble.
They can.
But what matters is how they react, right?
Yeah, sure.
Facebook, they learned from those mistakes and came out stronger.
Shows their agility, how willing they were to change, to iterate.
You got to be able to pivot when the market shifts.
And, it fits with a bigger theme in Zuckerberg's story. Embracing failure as a learning experience.
He's always taken risks, pushing boundaries.
Yeah, he seems to get it. True innovation means trial and error, some bumps along the way.
It's about having that growth mindset, being resilient.
You got to keep going, even when things get tough.
So let's switch gears a bit. What about Zuckerberg's leadership style?
Okay. Yeah.
He's been praised and criticized for it.
Yeah, very data-driven, analytical.
Wants to know the why behind everything.
Yeah.
Base decisions on evidence, not gut feelings.
Which makes sense, right? Facebook or Meta now, it's built on algorithms, user data, understanding those patterns.
Makes sense. But some say that data-driven approach makes him seem, I don't know, detached,
See.
lacking in that emotional intelligence.
Yeah, it's that classic engineer stereotype, analytical versus empathetic.
Totally. But those who work closely with him, they say he's passionate,
They do.
invested in the company's mission.
Cares about the impact of their work.
So maybe it's all about perspective.
Could be.
The analytical CEO versus the passionate visionary.
And let's not forget, he's dealt with some seriously heavy stuff, especially in the last few years.
He has the scrutiny, the controversies around privacy, data security, elections.
It would be overwhelming for most people.
Totally. But Zuckerberg stayed strong in his belief in the power of connection.
Right. In how tech can bring people together, create a more open world.
It's that resilience again, almost like he's constantly fighting to prove that Facebook, that his creation, can be a force for good.
Even with all the criticism.
And now he's taking Meta in this whole new direction, the metaverse.
Which is even bolder, more challenging than anything he's done before.
A huge leap into the unknown. Some people are skeptical.
Yeah, they think it's just hype, a distraction from all the problems Meta's dealing with. But
Whoa.
Zuckerberg, he sees it as the next step for human connection, breaking down those physical barriers.
Creating new experiences that could totally change how we interact, work, live.
It's like he's trying to build the future he wants to see, one where we can connect with anyone, anywhere, in a way that feels more real.
More engaging.
And he's putting his money where his mouth is. Billions of dollars into research and development.
Assembling a team of brilliant minds to make it happen. It's a gamble, but it could completely transform how we experience the world.
Uh-huh.
And AI, it's at the heart of it all.
Totally. It's the brain of the metaverse, powering those blends between the digital and physical.
It's a powerful image.
Yeah.
And his stance on open source AI, that's interesting.
It is.
He thinks a more collaborative, decentralized approach, that's the way to faster innovation, to making sure everyone benefits from AI.
It's bold, considering all the worries about the risks of AI going unchecked.
Some experts say, open sourcing powerful models, it could make it easier for bad actors to misuse them.
Or those biases in the models, they could get amplified, spread more easily.
But Zuckerberg seems convinced that being more open, along with strong safety measures and ethical guidelines, that's the best way forward for everyone.
It's a tough one, for sure. No easy answers.
We'll have to see how it plays out.
Absolutely. But let's remember, behind the CEO, behind the tech visionary, there's a human being there.
With his own life, habits, routines.
I think it's worth exploring that side too. What can we learn from how he approaches challenges outside of the tech world?
Absolutely. There's more to life than just building companies and conquering the digital world.
Right. How does Zuckerberg balance his personal life and his work life? How does he stay grounded?
It's a good reminder, even the most successful people, they're still human.
Dealing with the same basic challenges as the rest of us.
So let's dive in,
Yeah.
see what we can learn from Zuckerberg's approach to life, to family, to finding meaning beyond the boardroom. One thing that strikes me about Zuckerberg, he's really committed to fitness,
Oh, for sure.
jiu-jitsu, surfing, he even trains with pro fighters.
It's like he's got to push those physical limits, test himself outside of the tech world.
Right.
There's a discipline there, a focus that you just know carries over into his work life.
Totally. Setting goals, pushing boundaries, that constant drive to improve.
It's not just about staying in shape, it's a mindset.
It is. And speaking of balance, his commitment to family is pretty awesome.
It is.
He shares those little moments with Priscilla and their daughters.
Yeah, the hair braiding, teaching them to code.
It's cool to see that side of him,
Yeah.
nurturing those personal connections, even with running a global company.
Shows he values balance, finding meaning outside of work.
Right. Success isn't just about your career, it's about having a fulfilling life, period.
Totally agree.
Now, this one's kind of random, but his interest in history, especially the Roman Empire.
Oh, yeah, that's interesting.
He even named his daughter August.
Not your typical CEO reading list.
Definitely not.
Mhm.
He sees those parallels between building a lasting empire and building a lasting company.
Makes sense. Drawing inspiration from those historical figures, learning from their successes and their failures.
It's like he's looking to the past for guidance on how to navigate the tech world.
And there's a strategic side to it too, right? He's fascinated by how those leaders shaped culture, built consensus.
Created a legacy.
It's not just about power, it's about understanding influence, building something that endures.
And that brings us back to Zuckerberg's vision for the future. I mean, we're on the verge of this huge technological shift, something that could completely change how we live.
Oh, yeah. How we work, how we connect.
Exactly. And he's betting big on the metaverse, on AI.
Powerful technologies, but with the potential to disrupt, to empower.
Big question is, are these technologies going to help humanity or lead to more division, more inequality?
It's a question Zuckerberg's wrestling with, for sure.
He knows these technologies have huge ethical implications, and he seems committed to making sure they're used for good.
Advocating for responsible AI, open platforms, a more inclusive digital future.
It's a constant battle,
Right.
right? You gotta be vigilant, listen to the critics, be willing to adapt.
But it's a fight we're all part of. The choices we make, the values we prioritize, the actions we take, that's what shapes the future of tech.
I think we're left with a sense of both possibility and responsibility.
Mhm.
The tools are there, the ideas are flowing, but it's up to us to make sure they're used to build a better world.
A world where connection, empathy, those human values are at the forefront.
Absolutely. Maybe by learning from Mark Zuckerberg, his successes, his failures, his belief in technology's potential, maybe we can each play a part in shaping a future that benefits everyone.
I love that.
It's been an incredible journey exploring the mind of this tech titan. Keep digging, keep questioning, keep pushing those boundaries.